Why should physicians employ social media? What is TikTok? What are some of the pitfalls and challenges physicians may run into when pursuing using social media to improve their practice and/or brand? Learn the answers to these questions and many more on this episode of the Talk to Me Doc podcast.
Welcome to the Talk to Me Doc podcast, where it's all about serving the early career physician. Let's talk about the unique issues that face us so we can create a better future for ourselves and those to come. And now your host, Dr. Andrew Tisser.
Hey guys, this is Andrew. Welcome back to the Talk to Me Doc podcast. Thank you so much for being here. For all my returning listeners, I value you guys so much. Thank you for continuing to listen to me. For my new listeners, welcome. You're in for a treat because today, like on every episode, I bring you the best guests from all over healthcare to discuss issues relating to the early career physician and how we can fix them. Today's guest might be known to you all. Dr. Dana Corriel is a board-certified internist and founder of SoMeDocs, Doctors on Social Media, online platforms where physicians can network, figure out how to build effective online presence, and grow an audience in order to become thought leaders, build successful businesses, and accomplish feats doctors never have before. She has earned the title of Top 10 Internist to Follow on Twitter in 2018 by Medical Economics and Top 20 Social Media Physician Influencers by Medscape in 2019. Dr. Corriel has also been quoted in major publications, including the LA Times, Gastro and Endo News, MD Magazine, the Boston Globe, HuffPost, Medscape, and EP News. She has served as an expert/guest faculty at CME conferences of various medical schools and societies and has been on numerous podcasts. Dr. Corriel's specialty is physician branding, online strategy, and unique content creation. Her dream is not only to inspire professionals to innovate by thinking outside the box, but to also connect the experts with a general public audience. She ultimately wants to see her peers become healthcare's rightful influencers. Well, without any more hesitation, let us get Dana onto the show. Dr. Dana Corriel, welcome to the Talk to Me Doc podcast.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me on.
Likewise. So you're the social media queen, so I'm really honored to have you on the show here.
I appreciate it. That is definitely, for your audience, not something I choose to be called. I'm actually extremely uncomfortable with any compliments, but that compliment is not, I don't think that it's true, but thank you. I appreciate it nonetheless.
Well, that's certainly what you're known for these days. So I recorded a little bit about you ahead of the show, but if you could give the audience, those unfamiliar with yourself and your work, a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your role in healthcare right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say. So I'm going to really just summarize it in a nutshell. I'm a board-certified internist who, after around 10, 15 years of clinical practice in internal medicine, decided that I was no longer happy doling out medicine the way that healthcare is working right now, the way that it's set up. And I had pushed for many years to try to get past the barriers that were in place until the point where I just could no longer do it. Now, I had amazing traction from a project I had taken on and had grown basically from nothing to the big something that it is today. And so thankfully, I had that to sort of focus on when I stopped working. But it was obviously a huge step for me to go from a clinician-based practice to suddenly literally an entrepreneur, which is what I am now. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, you are very humble. I think we've learned over a couple of conversations. So what is your project? Talk to us a little bit about your platform and what's going on right now.
So my platform is called SoMeDocs, and that's short for Doctors on Social Media. It is a space that encompasses many social media platforms. The original one was a physician-only Facebook group that still exists today, and it grows nicely, all organically through word of mouth. But we have also expanded at this point to be present in other platforms, like I mentioned. So there's the public Twitter account. We have over 15,000 followers. We've got a Twitter team and weekly Twitter chats every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, different topics each week. We've got an Instagram account that's growing rapidly, over 2,500 followers. We feature lots of doctors there. We give social media tips. It is fun and it is always unique. There's also a website that really just connects everything, and I am growing slowly but surely. And the ultimate goal there is to sort of create a space where everyone can land and be served with their endpoint goals. And so both physicians and non-physicians alike can find a space that serves them. My ultimate goal is to empower physicians because of the break in healthcare. I believe that empowering physicians will help us to solve the healthcare crisis, because I believe that physicians ultimately really care about the patient. So when they're in control, the end results are better where it comes to patient health. So I want to empower the physician, and I'm doing that by giving them free networking spaces and by teaching doctors social media effectively, and then by allowing them through the networks to collaborate effectively. So that's it in a nutshell. And then of course there's the readers who want to know who's out there that they can follow. Notice I'm stressing follow and not see, because that's the whole point, is that we are leveraging the online space to impact healthcare. And so while the one-on-one patient-physician interaction will never be replaced because it is so important, and I can say that as a board-certified internist, there is still a lot that we can achieve through online methods, and they don't only have to be telemedicine. So that was a mouthful, but that's me in a nutshell.
No, you said it very well. So, I mean, I remember getting my first Facebook account and going to college, being really excited when it was just a platform for college kids to network. And it has grown so much since then. And luckily through this podcast and some of my side projects, I've learned more about Twitter and LinkedIn and things like that. But why social media? Why the focus on social media as the focus, I guess, focus.
So that why for me is pretty easy to answer. The why is that I reframe. I'm an out of the box person. I'm very much of an idea person. I love to look at things through angles that others don't. It's just how I am. I'm not sort of doing it purposely. I guess I was raised to think differently. And to me, a while back, before physicians were regularly using it, I started to think of social media as a non-social space to actually network for professionals, meaning I saw that it was not just social. And so I re-angled the way I looked at it, and I took out the word social. I just looked at it as media. And to me, media is powerful because that's where communication, right? Communication is, we get more traction for our messages through media. And now media is in our hands. And there's nothing like great communication for making changes. And so I was like, what if I could impact health messages using social media, this like tool that drives communication? And I did it alone and individually, right? And it doesn't even really matter what I dabbled on. I just saw that I could do things. I literally fuel and spark a movement of some sort. There's many movements out there, but a movement to really arm physicians with online tools and get us all to both individually make a change and collectively make a change. And that's where SoMeDocs was birthed.
What was the impetus to, you said you were unhappy in your career, and I know a lot of people start to dabble in side projects and kind of grow them slowly over time, and then perhaps transition out of clinical practice. But you went full throttle into this, so that must have been a little frightening, I would imagine. But what made you reach that conclusion that you were just going to jump in?
I'm trying to just summarize it because it can be a long story. I mean,
Sure.
I took off 3 years when I had my third son. And so that actually was the impetus for me to ultimately leave. It was so eye-opening and life-changing to step away from medicine from a like human perspective, from a, oh my God, what what does medicine do to a being like me who is so creative and passionate, but has entered this healthcare sphere that is, in my opinion, very traditional and sort of almost like it lives in a box. And I suddenly realized that the world will be changed through innovation that doesn't fit in a box. And so those 3 years made me realize this and allowed me the time and the space, because when you don't work as a doctor, you suddenly life opens up. And so I was able to start like dabbling in other fields, in the arts and in the communication and in just in many, many fields that sort of shaped me to who I am today. I'm actually a different person than I was then. I consider myself a lot different because I was enriched by that time away from medicine. So when I went back to medicine, I vowed to never let go of those amazing tools that I had become acquainted with. And then I didn't. And I decided even back then when I went back into medicine that I was going to do something. I was going to make a change, and I was going to invent something or innovate or do something that doesn't exist. And I knew it didn't exist because everybody was asking me what I was doing and rolling their eyes and making judgments and just not understanding. But I understood it. And I knew what I was going to build. I just didn't necessarily know how it would pan out. And also maybe how I was going to get there. But, yada, 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 years later. And not only did I become more unhappy in healthcare, like I described earlier, but I became happy with the connections and the changes and the projects and the impact that I actually was having online.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if you think about just the changes in social media as in its entirety in just the last 5 years, and how docs across the board are embracing it more, it really is spectacular. I mean, if you look back 5-6 years ago when, I guess I was a resident then. I mean, compared to now, just the explosion of groups and people putting out amazing content on social media, it's really remarkable in a short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it really connects us all, and there's beauty in that. And I don't think it's ever been that way because healthcare in general, right? It's very siloed. Everyone is not only in their own organization, but a lot of times just in their own space. You're in your office and you don't socialize for sure. You don't have time to see your colleagues, and you're missing out on that really crucial part of life that's networking. And that's something that entrepreneurs get, but doctors don't. And it's through no fault of our own. I mean, we don't know how to network because we never needed it until now. Like healthcare wasn't broken as much as it was today, or maybe we didn't realize it as it was becoming what it is today. But we're suddenly not only aware, we're burnt out beyond belief because it's over like a 50% burnout rate at this point, whatever you call it. Some people call it moral injury and other people call it burnout. But the point is that we're burnt out. But suddenly what's different here is that we're also connected. So we're suddenly realizing others are burnt out just like us. So it almost helps us to define that we're burnt out. Like it may have existed in different forms in the past, but even if it existed, maybe we weren't recognizing that it was burnout. But now we actually can because we're talking to other people. And then furthermore, we can not just define it and complain about it to each other because there's obviously benefits to venting, but we can also start to do something about it and to like gather behind the scenes and actually create projects that change healthcare. And again, that empower physicians, just like SoMeDocs is trying to do.
Yeah, it's been so fun just getting to know people online and just hearing your voice amplified by like, oh yeah, I have that exact same experience, and that's really grown over the late years. So what do you say to let's say some of our graduating residents that have used social media more for fun and just kind of keeping in touch with old friends that want to start to connect with other physicians and make a difference in healthcare through the use of social media? How do they get started?
Right. So first of all, you reminded me that I'm talking to young doctors. And so that horrifies me because I'm talking about broken healthcare and leaving healthcare. Please do not think that is the message I'm trying to give. That is just my personal path. I believe that I'm talented in what I do, and I did it very slowly and in a way that fit my life. Okay. So that's A. But social media is very powerful. I want everyone that's already dabbling in it to consider that it's a double-edged sword. So just because I use it impactfully doesn't mean that I don't strategize through using it and think through using it as well. And for residents in particular, and anyone in training, my best advice is to not think twice, to think 20 times before you post something. Now, of course, there's levels of safety. I mean, there's posting, in your own personal account, which is some levels safer than posting publicly. But all posting has the potential to be seen by others, even posts that are posted and then deleted. And especially when you're posting publicly, understand that there are consequences for the things that you say. So it absolutely is a double-edged sword, and you should just think through your presence by just thinking through like your endpoint goals for you being there. And if it's personal and social, that's fine, but like double check your settings that they're private. And if it's to become a thought leader in a certain space, more power to you, because that's literally what I teach and what I do. But you've got to do it super carefully because at this point it's different than it was before. And there are many more pitfalls nowadays than there used to be. And that's the best advice that I have for the early career physicians.
Yeah, that's great advice. People have said it before. If you wouldn't feel comfortable saying things in a group of your peers, then maybe you should consider whether or not you should be saying it at all. And I don't necessarily agree with that advice completely, but I think it lends to the point with just be careful with what you say.
I like that. And I like the disclaimer you put in there. I agree with you. I think there are certain exceptions and there's caveats. And so I like how you said that. Absolutely.
And your personal path towards leaving medicine, I think we are seeing an epidemic of younger career docs leaving as well, because of how medicine is right now. So whereas you're not suggesting that people go out and quit medicine, I think finding your own path in medicine is more accessible than ever before. So, at least the people I work with, I try to keep in medicine, but at least practicing on your own terms and making the choices that lead to less burnout or moral injury or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I love that angle. But what I also bring to the table is the fact that, like, I, for example, consult and I'm creating projects that can help physicians to not only get to that endpoint goal, but to actually like massage through the possibilities that may not actually exist currently. That's the coolness factor here, is that you would be surprised how a physician who maybe like takes a consulting package with me or takes a course or whatever they decide to do to arm themselves with the tools, you'd be surprised how mind blown they are when we start to talk ideas and we start to consider really the possibilities that are not yet out there, but that we can package up where it comes to the online. And so again, it's more than just giving yourself the freedom and being your own boss. It's also now I'm going to newly define how I practice, and maybe, augment my practice with an online presence, or just, obviously you can also do it 100%, but a lot of people can't. That doesn't mean you can't use the online to like complement the real life things that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love how you say that. It's especially physicians now realizing how much power they do wield. And as natural leaders, I believe all physicians are leaders by virtue of their training. And this is just letting them out in some different outlets. So, yeah, that's wonderful. So what are you working on now? What's coming down the pike?
So currently we're launching this really cool concept of SoMeDoc's master classes. And I am so excited about them because they're so different in how they are delivered. Anybody who's interested in learning anything that's outside of the white coat, depending on when you're listening to this, I'm planning on releasing more and more It is a group-led class. It is a virtual class done at your own time and at your own pace, but done with leaders holding your hand and helping you through. Right now it's a 6-week course, again, on different topics. So for example, the first one launching is Social Media 101. The next one coming up is podcasting. I have another one lined up that's business, that's specifically targeting consulting, professional services, private practice and consulting, and those kinds of things. And then there's how to become a coach. And I've got a lot more in the works, but those are the ones that are like, if not completely full where it comes to the leaders that are teaching, are almost full. And so I'm curating that to make sure that the material is super amazing and that the experience is very cool. So everybody who's interested, please check out somidocs.com, the masterclass tab, and please consider signing up or reaching out with questions.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put the links in the show notes for all that. That sounds really cool. And Dana, what the heck is TikTok?
Love it. Well, you're going to have to take my social media platform 101 masterclass debuting July 13th, like in less than 2 weeks, because there is an entire week dedicated to TikTok. So I'll tell you what it is in a nutshell. I'm not the one that's teaching that week, but I use it. And it is such a cool tool for making a very short video that can be so impactful. So I know that it like kind of holds like a silly, I don't know, it leaves like a silly taste in your mouth. But again, when you re-angle how you look at things and you consider it a valuable tool in communication, then you could think about it completely differently. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing about that. Mm-hmm. I found the most amazing TikTok yesterday, and I posted it on my Instagram. So anybody who's on Instagram, go to Dr. Corriel and like look through. I posted a psychiatrist's TikTok. I don't know how old he is. I mean, I don't want to insult. He must have been in his like, it's either 70s or 80s, but he was a psychiatrist who used TikTok and like was dancing, but like showed everybody how long it took him to become a doctor with the writing. And it was such a cool video. Like I shared it and everybody loved it. I didn't make the video. I just shared it. But the point is, look at this guy. He is an older physician, so set probably in his traditional ways. And yet he completely opened up his mind and took on TikTok, knowing that it might serve him for whatever endpoint goal he has. So I'm going to leave it with that message from TikTok, and hope that your listeners kind of get a flavor and a taste for what the possibilities are on social media.
Yeah, I got to check that out after this call. That'd be great. Yeah, that's a fun one. So just a little bit more about you. So besides SomiDocs, what do you like to do for fun?
Ooh, I love to do a lot of things. So I love, my family comes first. I loved to travel before COVID. We actually, as a family, made a decision that we were going to travel much more frequently because life was short and my boys are getting older and they're soon, not so soon, but they're going to leave my house. I have a high schooler. So traveling, I actually like, what else? I don't know if this is something you can admit, but I love to play poker. I don't play it much because nobody really does that. And I would love to meet women that love to play poker, but I love to play poker. And I love to create content, which I'm going to end with because it fits in so well with what I do. And that's what I want people to hear, is that you should consider dabbling in something that you absolutely love, because, and I know that people say it all the time and it kind of is getting old, but even in medicine, you can find something that you can do, that you can literally get up in the morning and with a smile on your face.
Love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I have not had a guest who says they love playing poker yet. So that's, you get a new one. That's
I love
awesome.
playing poker. Yeah.
Do you have like a book recommendation for the listeners?
Yes, I have a lot of books that I love, but I guess I will plug First of all, let's plug Sasha Shilkut's book, Between Grit and Grace, or Grace and Grit. I'm sorry, I'm nervous about plugging it, but I love it because I think it's really cool when a physician takes a whole bunch of lessons that she's learned and she packs it together so she amplifies others. And I love that she also uses it to like get her points across, because that's sort of a nice way of building up others. And then from a different trade, I love two. I love Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, because he literally taught me how to negotiate. And I'm going to plug that in the business one, there's going to be a physician teaching negotiation. And so I am excited. Dr. Linda Street is teaching that. So she is great. And then the other book I want to plug, because I've interviewed him on my site, is Nir Eyal's book, Indistractable. And that is totally social media related. And it teaches all of us just how distracted our society has become and how you can learn to sort of empower yourself and not be too distracted.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah. I'm on, I think, my third reading of Never Split the Difference. And my wife keeps asking me why I keep reading it, because I learn new things each time.
Oh, I believe it. And I believe it. And the funny story with that is that I actually posted I was reading it and I loved him, and I wanted to make a point. Like, I kind of wanted to make a point and see what people said. And I took a picture of the book and I put it out, and he responded to my point. So I thought that cool. It was so funny. It was when he was just starting out on Instagram. I guess he had someone like me go and tell him, yo, you need to get yourself on Instagram.
Yeah. I got to buff up my Instagram game too. But
yeah, you do. You got to take the masterclass, because it sounds like you need help with TikTok and with Instagram.
My God, you're right. You're right.
I'm kidding.
Well, this has been fun. I thank you again for coming on the show. Do you have any closing remarks for our early career physicians from a whatever you want to call yourself at this point, a successful entrepreneur? How about that?
There's so many things I can say. I guess just, don't forget to reevaluate your own happiness every step along the way, because that's the best way that you're going to deliver good quality care as a physician, right? And be successful doing it, right? Is if you're happy. And ultimately, because our own happiness is the best measure of success, in my opinion. Love it.
That is great advice. Gone are the days of just slugging through being a doctor and being miserable, because you can't take care of your patients that way. So Absolutely. You got to work on yourself. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I will put links to all million of your different places you can be found in the show notes. And I'm sure people will be reaching out, but thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it. I appreciate your voice in the medical podcast sphere.
Thank you. Well, take care. Wow, guys, what an awesome show with Dana Corriel. She is just a pleasure to talk to and work with, and this has always been the case through my many experiences with Dr. Corriel. She discusses her shift from clinician to entrepreneur. Dana also talks about her platform, SoMeDocs, and how it was started. Dana sees social media as just media and a way for professionals to collaborate and amplify their message. Dana discusses how, through social media, physicians are removed from their silos. Dr. Corriel speaks about how social media helps us recognize burnout, as we can identify with others who feel similarly. She does warn to consider social media as a double-edged sword, as everything is discoverable. Dr. Corriel discusses her new masterclasses for social media education and explains to me what the heck TikTok really is. Well, I know I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys did too. The one thing I'd like you guys to do after listening is follow me on Instagram at talktomedoc_LLC. That's talk the number 2 me DOC_LLC. As my Instagram game needs a lot of work, and I could really appreciate the support. Additionally, if you could leave me an honest review on Apple Podcasts, that really helps get the show out there. Thank you again to all of my listeners. I appreciate every single one of you. Please feel free to reach out to me directly, either on my website, andrewtisserdo.com, or my email, andrew@talktomedocpod.com. Until next time, guys, keep talking. All opinions expressed by the guest in this episode are solely the guest's opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Andrew Tisser DO, Talk to Me Doc LLC, or any affiliates thereof. The guest's opinions are based upon information he or she considers reliable, but Andrew Tisser DO, Talk to Me Doc LLC, nor any affiliates thereof warrant its completeness or accuracy. The guest, Andrew Tisser DO, Talk to Me Doc LLC, or any affiliates thereof are not under any obligation to update or correct any information provided in this episode. The guest statements and opinions are subject to change without notice.